You'd be the most famous, most powerful person on the planet.
Yeah.
Essentially, if you're the president of the United States.
Because there's some really, really smart, good, thoughtful people that care a lot about the country on both sides of the aisle.
Yeah.
And none of them are running for these offices.
They don't want to wade through that shit to get to that spot. That's the oddest thing about Trump, is that he just fucking like water off a duck's back. He just wades through that shit. And that's what I think drives people the most crazy. It's part of what they call Trump derangement syndrome, is not just outrage about what he has said or what he has done that's infuriated people. It's his ability to fucking brush it off like it's nothing. It's not hitting him. It's not hurting him. They want to hurt him. So then you're seeing these lawsuits now. Now you're seeing, these crimes that he's being accused of. Now you're seeing all this shit that's going down. Like Rudy Giuliani just gets hit with a $149 million lawsuit with these two ladies. He has to declare bankruptcy. Like, this is, you're seeing all of this stuff that's happening, and they're just feverishly trying. Like, Colorado removed him from the ballot. Now he has to appeal that. Colorado removed him from the ballot because they said he was an insurrectionist. Just wild. It's wild that you get to make that decision, because if somebody else comes along and that precedent is set, it goes the other way now.
Here's the interesting thing about that. And he has not been convicted of that.
No.
So you have a court of law. This is what's dangerous. And everyone has to forget their blind hatred of Trump for a second.
Yeah, forget it and just look at the structure of our society.
Put the widget in there. Insert X is the person, right?
Right.
X has not been convicted of a crime. A Supreme Court looks at evidence that was not presented. They got it from wherever they got it from, with no defense, and makes a decision. That's dangerous shit. And it may not feel dangerous to people right now who think at any cost keep Trump from being president again. But what happens when that same methodology is used against someone that you do support? Well, once you open Pandora's box and the rule of law is malleable.
Exactly.
That's when I say I'm talking about how is the action of today going to affect the world that my son's trying to raise a child in?
Yes.
That's what's terrifying to me, is there's so much irrational, emotional behavior around our government.
And also,
you can get on The View and say whatever wacky shit you want to say, but when we're talking about courts of law, like, everyone needs to. Our government was built. You've got an executive branch, a legislative branch, and a judicial branch, and it was built to operate very slowly. It was built to be impervious of the emotion. That's the whole reason we're a republic and not a democracy, because the founding fathers said, you know what, people get real emotional if they can just vote on anything. And you could look at California as an example, because it only takes like 20,000 signatures to get something on a ballot, which is how they've passed some feel-good emotional laws that have actually had some real adverse effects on that state.
Yeah.
And that's the whole reason we're a representative government. And when we can just start arbitrarily changing the rule of law and the nature of the courts, that will be used against us as a people. It will be used against us.
It certainly will be. And that's what's so disturbing about today's short-sightedness. And that's what's scary about a person like Trump. What's scary is not him. It's the reaction to him. It's the fact that he is able to brush these things off. They keep coming after him with all these different things, and none of them have really taken him out yet. And so they're just furious about it. They're so angry. And that makes them more likely to use that defense, like, we got to stop Hitler.
So the first debate in 2016 or 15 or whenever it was on CNN. And they put Trump, who at the time is, he's on The Apprentice. He's got his show. And they put him front and center. There's 2 or 3 governors up there. There's a senator up there. There's all these other, there's Rubio's up there. Jeb Bush is up there from Florida. I'm not saying that I'm just saying that we have seasoned politicians. And CNN put him front and center and said, all right, wait for these firecrackers to go off. This is going to be great. This is going to be great. And the Republican Party was freaking out. Whoa, what's going on here? And There was even debate if they were going to ratify him as the nominee at that point. And the media was sitting back going, look, the ratings are through the roof. This is great. And I think this is going to work out great for Hillary. And all of a sudden, he gets elected. And the media was complicit in that. And I think one of the things that pisses them off more than anything is that they put him there.
Yeah.
They put him there.
I think you're right. That's part of it. But it's also, he's such an easy opponent to rally people against if you're on that other side. And when people are very ideologically based, and you can connect one person to all the things that you hate, whether it's he's xenophobic, he's racist, he's this, he's that, he's going to stop, he's ignorant to climate change, this is a problem, it's a threat to our democracy, he said he'd be a dictator for a day, all these different narratives that get spread out, and then people act on that emotion. They're just very easy to manipulate when you have a guy that is boisterous, has said ridiculous things, and does talk the way he talks. It's just easy, if he's the opponent, to get people rallied up and come up with these really irrational things, like what we're talking about, like removing him from the ballot. Like, these are crazy things like you can't do unless a guy is actually guilty and proven of it. Like, they have to be convicted of this. And what if they go to appeal? What happens then? That takes years. Like,
there's a decent chance that the fever to get him will be the thing that gets him reelected.
I think so. I think it's sort of along the same lines as what happened with CNN during the first election. They thought that they were going to highlight how ridiculous he is, and it was going to crush him. And then Hillary was going to come along as this very competent, seasoned politician, Secretary of State, shoo-in, first woman president. Everybody's excited, and people didn't buy it.
Yeah,
they didn't buy it, and now they're terrified that it's going to happen again, because Biden is way more vulnerable than Hillary. Hillary was at least a seasoned politician, the wife of one of our most famous politicians.
Very articulate speaker.
Very articulate, lawyer, knew how to handle herself. And Biden is barely there. Like, he can't debate Trump. It's not even possible anymore. It can't happen anymore. We all know it can't happen. It barely happened in 2020. But the idea of that happening again in 2024, no one believes that. No one believes that.
We're in a spot.
We're in a crazy spot. And then Bobby Kennedy drops out of the Democrats, and now he's an independent. And you're like, okay, well, that's not ideal. Like, ideal was they primary him and Kennedy wins. But then there's all there's different people that don't